Hey everybody, Kneecap here. This is going to be my updated Holy Healing Guide for 7.1. As there has been a few little changes and as gear has progressed, I've noticed some different things from my original Holy Healing Guide, so there will be a few adjustments on that original one. This is just the updated version for 7.1. We'll start with our stats, and what we'll do here is go with priority first. Your first priority is going to be intellect, then crit, and then versatility slash mastery, and I'm putting them on the same level, and we'll discuss that in just a moment. And last is haste. Me personally, I am prioritizing crit above intellect. That's been my personal preference in raid so far. I've cleared through all of heroic rating, have not done the mythic yet, but so maybe for mythic rating, I could be wrong, but I can say that up to heroic rating, that all of this is legit and does work. I'm going with crit over intellect. I just, as a paladin, crit is so important. It synergizes with pretty much all of your abilities, all of your talents. And I'm at 42% crit right now. If I do get that up to probably like 50%, I'll probably back off a little bit at that point. But I am trying to get to 50% right now. That's just kind of my own personal goal, I guess. After crit, then I do obviously prioritize intellect. You want more spell power in general. Um, After that, I have changed my mind on mastery. After you learn the fights and after you learn like how everything's going in the fight, you can position yourself correctly on most fights, not every fight, to have mastery really benefit you. Of course, there's fights like Ursak or fights where you can stand in the melee where mastery can be very, very helpful for you. But even on some other fights, when the tanks are separated, for example, you can actually get a little bit of help with your mastery by standing next to one tank so they are close to you while your other tank has the beacon on them, which we'll get to the talents in a moment, but that actually, your beacon target actually is affected by your mastery as well. So I personally am going to rank mastery just basically a little over versatility. But as a general rule, you can probably safely say mastery and versatility are kind of equal. If you're just standing wherever you want, you're not thinking too hard, then versatility is going to be higher than mastery. Last is going to be haste, because your heals are already pretty fast or instant, except for Holy Light, but you're probably only going to be using Holy Light if it's after a Holy Shot crit, or because it's a slow time in the fight and you can just have the affordability to cast a slower casted spell. So biggest change there from the original Holy Guide is that I'm a little bit more pro mastery now than I was before. After I fully learned the fights and where to stand. As far as talents go, um, originally I was kind of high on Light's Hammer, and I've definitely come down on that as my gear's gone up. My Bestow Faith heal has been hitting for a lot harder, and then my crit's so high that it often crits as well, which makes it far and away the best talent on this tier. Light's Hammer, if you just like Light's Hammer, if you're a new 110 or you're using it because you need to AoE things when you're doing a world quest, that's kind of, you can use it for a normal dungeon even. That would be somewhat helpful. That's about as far as Light's Hammer goes. Crusader's Might is pretty much just, again, kind of like a world questing solo type thing to you're going to be using your Crusader Strike for damage, and then your Holy Shock is going to pop up quicker, and you can Holy Shock for damage as well. The next tier, a lot of people go with Rule of Law here, so I'm going to talk about that first. Increase the range of your heals and the reach of Mastery Lightbringer by 50%. So basically, because of that reach, you're going to be doing a little bit more heals for that 10 seconds. It only has a 30-second recharge, so you are able to keep it up quite often. It's only a 20-second downtime. For me, it's just annoying. Again, I've been trying to position myself properly to where my Mastery Lightbringer works on its own without needing a range extended, I guess you could say. But me personally, I don't use this. But if you are just looking to get every little bit of heals out, then Rule of Law would probably be the way to go with that, because it is going to increase your heals for that 10 seconds. Pretty much no matter what. So it is just the general HPS increase. What I use is Unbreakable Spirit, and I mostly use it for, because obviously Divine Shield, Divine Protection, Lay on Hands. Yes, my Divine Shield's down to 3.5 minutes, so there are some times where I can use it twice if the fight's really long. So that is sometimes helpful. But what's really helpful is Divine Protection at only 42-second cooldown. It lasts 12 seconds, so that's only 30-second downtime. So you can always kind of negate yourself some damage. That's what I use personally, and that's the reason why I use it. Cavalier is, if you're just having trouble with mobility, then you could use Cavalier, and I couldn't fault you for it. You're not going to lose too much HPS on Rule of Law if you are positioning yourself well. If it's a very spread out fight, let's say it's a progression fight, everyone's very spread out, Rule of Law might be a good talent to use for that fight. The next tier, we have Repentance, Fist of Justice, Blinding Light. This is just personal preference. Honestly, it doesn't matter. I use Repentance personally for CC, in raids or mythics, whatever. That's why I use Repentance. This is personal preference, completely up to you. The next line, you're going to want to go with Aura of Mercy because it just heals constantly. It's always nice to, I mean, it really adds up on your healing when you break down your heals. Aura of Mercy is going to be in your top 4 or 5, whatever heals, just from the constant healing. Obviously, you're going to want to stand, within 10 yards of certain people. If you're completely standing by yourself, then yes, Aura of Mercy isn't going to help as much, but you're probably never really standing by yourself for an entire fight. There's a lot of times where you have to stack together, whether it's for like a meteor attack or something like that, and your Aura of Mercy is going to be healing during that time. Devotion Aura is an interesting one. I've thought about playing around with it. Allies within 10 yards take 20% reduced damage. What that could be interesting for is on a fight where you can actually stand like on the tank or right next to the tanks. To have them take 20% reduced damage could be a big deal. So that is workable. It's more of a mitigation instead of a heal. Most people prefer the healing numbers than mitigation numbers. So Aura Mercy is going to be generally the one that's chosen. Or a Sacrifice, this one isn't really going to matter. There's going to be too many times where you're not above 75% health, so it's just not going to matter anyways. As far as raiding Mythic Dungeons go, or a Sacrifice is not needed. On the next line, another change that I've made is I've gone with Holy Avenger now over Holy Prism, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But first, let's talk about Divine Purpose. This is an interesting talent. I wish they would rework it a little bit because it does have a chance to be cool. Light of Dawn, Holy Shock have a 50% chance not to start their cooldown and make their next cast free. The cooldown isn't long enough for this talent to be really worth it. It's not like you are like, oh my gosh, I just need another Holy Shock. Usually, I mean, it's a pretty quick cooldown. So maybe if the chance was higher, or maybe if it did something besides Light of Dawn, something with a longer cooldown, that would be interesting. Divine Shield, maybe that'd be cool. You get your Divine Shield more often. Of course, that would be OP in other ways. But instead of theory crafting, let's just move on here. I go with Holy Avenger now. This is just going to, again, it's going to, by rule, increase your heals per second the most, increases your haste by 30%, your Holy Shock healing by 30% for 20 seconds. Basically, this is a good talent to mix with your other abilities. So you can mix your Holy Avenger with your Tears Deliverance, or you can mix your Holy Avenger with your Avenging Wrath, and those are both good options, and you're going to be healing really fast. And what I like to do personally is I actually use Holy Avenger as a chance to get my mana back as well, because I will use Holy Light with the haste up so much. Let's see, it's normally a 2.36 second cast, and that brings it down to 1.82, and 1.82 is just a little bit slower than my Flash of Light. So you're basically getting to cast Flash of Light, but for less mana. So I use that as a chance to get some mana back, or to not spend as much mana, I should say, by using my Holy Avenger. What I used to use is Holy Prism. There's still certain fights where I'm going to stand by Holy Prism. Fights where you're basically standing in the melee, or fights where everyone's always low on health, like never really fully topped off for a lot of time at least. Holy Prism can be nice for that AoE healing. However, as my raid group got better and better at keeping everyone close to full health, Holy Prism was just redundant. It was pointless to use, and it does cost quite a bit of mana. It will increase your healing if you are able to use it, and it is effectively healing people. But it's not going to be a very popular thing to use. Again, you can use it in normal dungeons, you can use it for world questing. But for pure healing, you're probably just going to go with Holy Avenger for multiple reasons. Next here, We have Fervent Martyr. Casting Holy Light Flashlight on your beacon of light reduces the cost of your next Light of the Martyr by 50%, stacking. So basically, that lets you work your Light of the Martyr into your rotation uh, pretty effectively, really. But the problem is, Light of the Martyr for hurting you doesn't do quite enough healing that a ton of people are using it a lot. I I only use it in emergencies personally, or when I have Divine Shield on, just because then I don't take any damage. In a raid format, you really don't want to be taking any unnecessary damage unless it's just a fight where the healers and DPS just aren't taking any damage. Uh, I personally don't. I like the idea of that, but right now I'm not really sure anyone should be using that. Sanctified Wrath was the go-to choice on this tier, even though I wasn't using it. It was getting technically the most HPS out for a lot of time for a lot of people, but they did nerf this in 7.1, and even before 7.1, I was using Judgment of Light, and that's what I'm going to recommend as well. Basically, when you judge the boss or your target, the next 40 successful attacks are going to heal and heal your DPS, heal your tanks, heal yourself, whatever. This is a great ability. Basically, you just need to keep up judgment at all times. You just kind of work that in. It has X amount of cooldown depending on your haste. For me, it's 11.3. So about every 11.3 seconds, I'm going to judge the boss and make sure that I have that on. This will account for a pretty decent amount of your healing. It also that healing also works for a lot of trinkets. For example, like on heal. So this is a way that you're actually healing. Let's say you're mostly focusing on tanks. This is a way that you're healing the raid, and also maybe getting your trinkets to proc on raid members as well, where it normally wouldn't, because you wouldn't be healing them directly. And the last tier, you're going to want to go with Beacon of the Lightbringer. What that does is it makes your mastery more useful. So if you don't have Beacon of the Lightbringer, you pretty much don't want any mastery whatsoever, because at that point your mastery is only affecting people close to you. When it affects your beacon target, that makes like your tank with the beacon on it, they're taking full effect of your mastery. The off tank's usually close by, he's getting pretty much full effect of your mastery. That's huge. So that's going to be your go-to talent there. Your other choices just really aren't that useful. We'll go into the artifact weapon on this video. What I went for first was Power of the Silver Hand. This allows your Holy Shocks, in essence, to just heal for an absorbent amount. I've had some really high Holy Shocks because of this. It's only 10%, but 10% more on a crit can add up quite high. Next, I went for light saves. When the health of your beacon of light target falls below 50%, your next holy light or flashlight on your beacon of light target will heal for an additional 100%. Can occur only once every 30 seconds. So every 30 seconds, basically, you get just a really strong, powerful heal if your target's almost dead. So that can be quite helpful as well. But the other gold talent is also really good, so there isn't like a bad one here to go for. Aura Master also increases all healing received by party raid members within 40 yards by 15%. So basically, now your Aura Mastery, not only does it increase the healing by your Light of the Martyr, if you chose that, but it's also going to increase your heals on everybody within 40 yards of you. So that's just another healing cooldown. So, I mean, this one could be ranked as the highest. It's not the one that I wanted to go for first, but it's a really good one. You don't really have a bad choice. They're all actually really helpful, and as Holy Paladins, we should be pretty thankful for that, because not every class has really, really helpful gold talents there. Lastly, we'll just go through the moves just really quick for anyone who doesn't kind of know what to do or what every move is. Your main move is going to be Holy Shock, so you're going to be Holy Shocking, and what that's going to do is it's going to make your next Holy Light fast, or it's going to make your next Flash of Light heal for harder than what it normally would. Light of Dawn only hits 5 targets. You're going to want to position yourself to be able to use this if possible. I pretty much use it if it's even going to hit 2 or 3 targets. Even if you are just using it as a instant cast heal, that's not the best way to do it, because it is slightly expensive mana for if it's only hitting one person, but if it does proc, it could be worth it. So you can use that at your disposal. Obviously, you have your wings, you have Aura Mastery, you have Holy Avenger if you chose it, and you have Tears Deliverance as your 4 major cooldowns. Light of the Martyr, I just talked about a little bit. That hurts yourself and spends a little bit of mana to heal your target. Judgment, keep that up if you are spec into the Judgment of Light. And Repentance is just a CC. And then you're going to have your Cavalier ability, or your Divine Steed ability, excuse me, to kind of move around faster. You have your Divine Shield to save yourself. Divine Protection, don't forget to use that, guys. During some big damage phases, use your Divine Protection. Use your Blessing Protection on yourself or others. Use Hand of Sacrifice in emergencies as well. It is going to take some damage on yourself, but it does really help it on a tank, especially during a phase or an enrage or something like that. Other than that, let's see, Bestow Faith. I didn't go over Bestow Faith a ton. What I'm going to say about Bestow Faith is make sure that you are timing things correctly, so where Bestow Faith is not going off. It goes off after 5 seconds. So after that 5 seconds, if that person is already topped off, that's just overhealing and it's completely wasted. I was having that happen to me a lot, but as I used it more and more, I did get used to it and kind of was able to time it better. So other than that, Lay on Hands, you're probably only going to use this once a fight unless you have the legendary that reduces the cooldown of it, but you save that for an emergency. And other than that, that's all the moves, that's the talents, that's your stats. I can't think of anything else to talk about, so I guess that's it. Thumbs up and sub. Good luck in 7.1, and good luck in healing Trials of Valor and Karzhan. Everyone have a good one.